Chances are, if you're watching this video, you've lost weight in the past. You've had a really successful stint where you've been good, you've seen the scale weights constantly going down, and you're really happy that you finally found something that's allowed you to see those changes that you wanted to. But yet when you look in the mirror, you don't feel happy like you thought you would. You convinced yourself that once you finally started to lose weight, that's when I'll be happy. That's when I'll start to feel more confident. But now you see yourself in the mirror and you just look like a smaller version of yourself. You don't feel more toned, you still feel soft and lumpy, and your body shape hasn't changed whatsoever. Then all of a sudden, weight loss stops. What was working before is no longer working anymore. You're feeling your cravings start to creep up every single day. You're starting to notice that you feel more miserable because you've not enjoyed any of your food for such a long period of time and you banned everything from your diet trying to lose that weight. That you get to the point where you think, what's the point? I'm putting in all this effort to see these changes and I still feel unhappy. I still don't feel confident. And I just look like a smaller version of myself without any muscle tone. So eventually you do think, I've had enough. There's no point in this anymore. I just need to enjoy my diet. If I'm not going to be able to be confident in my body, I might as well at least eat what I want to eat and be happy there. And then sure enough, the weight starts creeping back on. And it seems to creep on easier than the first time it did. The thing is, you're not alone here. So many women go through this exact same process. And in fact, my client Zoe, she went through the same thing before we started working together. She came to me saying, I've lost weight in the past, but I always regain it. And I never felt confident when I did lose that weight. I just feel like I'm stuck in this on-off cycle because I can never get the results that I want to. Whereas now we're 19 weeks in and she's 23.5 pounds down. She's finally feel confident. She's finally wearing different clothes that she didn't think she'd be able to. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly why that every time that you lose weight and regain weight again, it becomes harder every single time. And I'm going to show you exactly the process that I walked Zoe through and all my other clients to finally be able to get to a place where they consistently see the weight drop, they consistently start to feel more toned, not just like a smaller version of themselves, and they don't have to end up restricting their diet so much that they feel miserable and they just have their cravings going through the roof. If you don't know who I am Lewis, the owner of the Lemon Frog Fitness Company, and it is my mission to help women all around the world to finally be able to see the results for the effort they're putting in at the gym and in their nutrition and finally feel toned and confident in their clothes. So firstly, let's talk about why it gets harder every time that you go through this cycle of losing weight and then regaining the weight. Because what tends to happen when this happens is because when you're losing that weight through restrictive methods or you're slashing your calories, you're doing as much cardio, as much classes, whatever it is that you can to burn calories and sweat, you lose a lot of weight in this process. But some of that weight that you're losing is from muscle mass as well. And this is exactly what all my clients experience. This is what Zoe experienced before. They would get to that point where they're so unhappy with themselves, they'll do anything to lose weight. And because they do that, they end up losing muscle mass in the process. And then when they regain the weight, they've regained more body fat, they've got less muscle. So what they're burning every single day in their quote unquote metabolism is much lower than it used to be. And then you get stuck in this cycle. You lose weight, you lose muscle, you regain weight, you've still got less muscle. And each time and each attempt, it just gets harder, you get softer, and you get more and more unhappy with how you look in the mirror. Whereas the process that I take my clients through, and I'm going to share with you in this video, eradicates that from ever happening. You will never lose muscle mass in the diet that I'm going to run you through, and you'll only build muscle mass. So when you do this, you become more toned when you start losing weight, you've got more muscle, so you burn more calories every day, and everything just becomes so much easier and you become so much more confident. And honestly, this process is the easiest process you're ever going to go through for when it comes to dieting. And there's just 4 simple stages that I need you to follow. And then the final one, you're just going to repeat it every now and again. So let's talk about the first step in this process. And this is something I make sure all my clients do. And that is what I like to call a priming phase. You see, most women, and I'm sure you've done this in the past as well, is you get to that point of being unhappy and you dive straight into the deep end of a diet. You slash your calories, you increase your steps, you increase your movement, that it just becomes too unsustainable. Whereas what I get my clients to do is we do what I call this priming phase. This is where we prime their bodies, their habits and their mindset to be able to be susceptible to fat loss, so they feel like they can, or not feel like, they can get better results, they find it easier. And the whole process, when you get to that fat loss stage, which I'll talk about in step 2, it just flows so nicely and you see results better than you've ever seen them before. So the priming phase will last roughly around from 4 to 6 weeks. Now, what your goal is during this point is not to lose body fat. Often or not, clients do lose body fat in this process just because of the things that we implement, but that is not the goal here. The goal is to get them into the best place possible to make fat loss seem easy. So the things that we run through with clients is, it is going to be tailored towards them and specific to what they're going through. But 9 times out of 10, it's making sure that they're getting more protein in their diet. We focus on building a solid foundation with training hard with weights. Not trying to burn as many calories as possible, not trying to get as sweaty as possible, but trying to get as strong as possible. In this phase as well, we'll start tapping into what some of their belief systems and how their mindset holds them back. Because every woman has something that holds them back, whether they don't believe in themselves, whether they have an all or nothing approach, right? The on-off plan side of things. We'll look at tackling this because this makes dieting so much harder. And then after we've gone through that initial priming phase, like I said, 4 to 6 weeks, now is the time that we move into that fat loss stage. Now, the priming phase has been the foundations, right? You wouldn't try building a house without any foundations because it would just crumble. So now we've already got yourself in a good place, your body primed, your mindset primed, and your habits primed to be able to go into this fat loss phase. This is when we can start seeing much faster results. So from here, we've gathered all the data from your priming phase about what maintenance looks like, what your protein's looking like, and then we take all that information, move it into the fat loss phase. We make a couple adjustments to make sure that you're in a deficit, and then this is where the magic starts to happen. And what I always recommend to my clients is we would probably only diet between 8 and, on the more extreme side of things, 15 weeks at one time. Never any longer than that, because diets become too unsustainable. Your body starts fighting back a little bit more and trying to stop you from losing as much weight. Now, I'm not talking it starts holding on to body fat because it's scared of its meals, where it's going to come from. But what ends up happening is that you'll start moving less subconsciously every day. So like in this video, I talk a lot with my hands, I'm moving a lot, I'm very emphasized with my voice. When I'm deep in a diet, there is nothing more than I want to do than just to slump, sit here, be a little bit monotone. Because I haven't got the energy to be more upbeat and moving around a lot. And it's the ways like this that your body starts to slow you down. In the extreme examples for women, your body will shut off its menstrual cycle. So if you've been dieting aggressively for a long period of time, you've lost a decent amount of body fat, your body will do these sorts of things to try and keep you from burning too many calories and finding it too unsustainable. So we need to get you out of a diet and into a maintenance phase. Now again, this is the second part that women skip. They like to dive straight into a diet and that's all they think about. Right, I'm on this now for the rest of my life. But again, we know that diets are unsustainable long term. And 2, the goal isn't to always be in a diet. The goal is to be at a position where you can eat as many calories as you can while maintaining how you look, but building muscle and feeling strong. And for us to be able to do that, we have to be aware of what it looks like when we're not dieting. We have to learn how to eat more calories without regaining the weight. We have to make sure that we eat enough to build muscle, but not enough to build body fat and store more body fat. So this is where, again, 8 to 15 weeks of dieting, and then we move you into a phase where we start feeding you more and eating more calories. This is where your body is going to improve its hormones, because again, after dieting for a long time, your body will downregulate some of your hormones. Particularly your hunger hormones are going to increase, and your satiety, your fullness hormones are going to decrease. So what we need to make sure that we're doing is taking you out of that deficit into a fed state so your body can be optimized and it can feel as healthy as it possibly can. We want to get you into feeling full again. We want to get you into feeling energized again, feeling strong again, enjoying food, because this is important. And then what we end up doing is staying in here, depending on your goals, for 4 weeks or even all the way up to 9 months. I've done this with clients. If you've got a lot of weight and a lot of body fat to lose, keep it to the shorter side, 4 weeks just to shake off the diet fatigue and then get right back into the next phase of dieting. If you're someone that's relatively lean and you want to build a lot more muscle so you can see more shape in your shoulders, you can see more definition in the back of your arms when you wear that vest top, or when you put on a skirt, skirt, dress, whatever it is, you can see the definition in your legs and you feel confident, then we need to stay in this phase for a longer period of time. We need to make sure that we're building muscle for months, because you can't do it in weeks. It has to be a longer time. And then once we get you into a place where you're feeling confident, you've built muscle, you're feeling energized, but now we need to go back into the next diet, that's when we go into it. And then this next part is where we start to see the best results you've ever seen before. Because you've gone through all the previous stages where you're priming your body, you've reduced some body fat, you've built some muscle, and you've got the mindset and the habits to allow you to consistently see results. This final stage of dieting is going to be where you see the best results possible. Because you've built more shape, you've already lost that body fat, so now the results just get better and better. And this is where you're going to feel over the moon, feel a lot more confident, and finally look in the mirror and not just feel like that smaller version of yourself. And then, like I said, we just repeat that last step after here, right? If you're someone looking to lose a lot of body fat, a lot of weight, you're going to go between the dieting phase and the maintenance phase, because we need to get you to the point where you are feeling confident and don't want to lose any more body fat. Whereas if you're someone that's actually got to a place where you're feeling super confident, you don't want to lose any more body fat, but you just want to get stronger, you want to be more toned, then now is where we keep you in this maintenance phase and just focus on doing exactly that by fueling your body, building muscle and building strength. And you see, it's when you take this approach and you go through these stages, this is where the magic starts to happen. This is where you look into the mirror and see your shape changing and not just a smaller version of yourself. This isn't where you crash diet, lose muscle and then regain all the body fat and then some. This is where you're healthy, this is where you're strong, and this is where you're finally confident. So what you want to do from here is make sure that the next time you start to approach your diet, you start with that foundation phase. After that foundation phase is locked in, you can go into your first diet. Once you start to notice that you're starting to get that diet fatigue, hunger's increasing and so on, let's take you out of that diet, reverse diet you and into that maintenance phase. And then once you're feeling good, you're feeling energized, you've built some muscle and you want to lose a little bit of body fat, now it's time to go back into that diet. And I promise you, if you go through this approach, life will feel so much easier, life will be so much more enjoyable, and you'll finally start to see those results that you've always been hoping for. Now, the unfortunate thing is, no one else in the fitness industry is going to teach you this. They're going to try and get you to do these crash diets, do these unsustainable things. So you lose weight, you regain it, and then you've got to come back to them later down the line to lose it again. I don't want that for you. I want you to be able to go off and be able to get these results continuously, whether you decide to keep learning from me or not. This is what it's about at the end of the day, is empowering women like yourself to be able to take their results into their own hands. And if you want to learn more of these sorts of tips and you want to be able to be independent in the gym, in your nutrition and training, then I'd highly recommend that you subscribe to this channel, because I'm going to teach you everything that you need to know. I'm not going to leave any knowledge off of the table and hide it and keep it away from you. And if you're someone that's particularly struggling with going to the gym and seeing the results that you expected, then make sure that you go to the link in the bio, because I'm going to go over the 3 main common mistakes that women make when they're training. Once you address these 3 issues, I promise the gym is going to feel so much easier. Well, you're going to be working a lot harder, so that's going to be difficult, but the actual process of the gym is going to feel easier and the results are going to feel easier as well. So make sure you go below, drop into that link and make sure you download that guide. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to this channel and I'll see you in the next video.